Hello, everybody out there on the internet. This is Dan Selcke of winteriscoming.net, here with Mia Johnson of fansite.com. This is Take the Black Live, the show where we talk about all the Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, fantasy, sci-fi news, and my God, Mia, I'm excited. There was a lot this week.
There was an explosion of news.
We are back live.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, says Julie. Who's excited? Me. I'm excited too, Julie. I really am. And Kathleen Morris Wall says, hey, from very rainy North Carolina, it is rainy here as well. But seriously, This was an insane couple of days.
Yeah. And funny enough, it's like everything kind of broke like Tuesday-ish, and Tuesday was my day off. So it's like...
At the Obama Summit?
Yeah, I went to the Obama Summit. So I took a day off to see the Obamas, and all of a sudden Game of Thrones and HBO thinks that they can just like sneak in all that news while I'm not looking. Thanks a lot.
It was nuts. Okay. I'm going to be calm.
Yes.
We're going to go through it bit by bit and give our thoughts.
Yes.
So, and by the way, okay, well, let's just say what happened. Okay, the first big thing that came on, I believe it was Monday, was they did announce, and hey, Terry, that the Blood Moon, which might be what it's called, we'll never know now, the Game of Thrones prequel series set thousands of years before the main show is, well, not canceled, because they're not going to pick it up.
Yeah.
This was going to be a show set during the Age of Heroes, starring Naomi Watts as a socialite, somehow in caveman times, I don't know. And it would have told the story about how the White Walkers first invaded Westeros.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you were off, but, I mean, when I heard this, it was a rough day because it was coming like, you heard that, you heard Dave Benioff and Dan Weiss are no longer doing Star Wars, and it was like a dark day for like Game of Thrones fans all around.
It was like a shadow cast on the fandom. Oh.
I was trying to think of calling it like, can I call this like the Gray Wedding or something?
The Gray Wedding.
I never quite got there.
Yeah, maybe.
It didn't work.
Yeah,
It wasn't working. Maybe come up with something. And Julie says, hi, banners. It's very true.
Oh, yes, they're right.
Got my Lannister people behind me.
Lannister banner.
Lannister forever. So that happened, and let's take a moment to mourn that. I'm not sure, like, were you invested at all in seeing a Naomi Watts starring kind of sprawling epic of a prehistoric Game of Thrones prequel series?
Okay. This one, so I'm trying to I feel like I'm doing a lot of catch up right now.
Yeah, it's very true.
So this one was the one about, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Who was it about? Or what?
I mean, we don't really know.
Okay, so
we wouldn't know the characters.
Okay.
We just knew, big ensemble cast, quite a big, large cast. And I mean, they never got to the point where we were going to learn who they were.
I see.
It was going to be, basically, from what I could tell, kind of like Game of Thrones, where characters like spread across different continents.
Okay.
And the White Walkers are going to be kind of in the background looming. The wall is not built yet. And the story is they come in and, screw shit up. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. It looked interesting. Okay. And I mean, if they hadn't, they knew people were going to be upset. I mean, obviously they knew, because later that day, they come back with, no, you don't be upset. It's fine. Everything's cool.
Yeah.
We're ordering a new series. It's about Targaryens.
Yeah.
It's called House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Which someone on Twitter pointed out kind of sounds like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, don't put in any orders. It's not real. It might be real, actually. Probably in some place in Florida, I'm sure.
And not only did they order this, they're not making a pilot. They've ordered it 2 series. They have ordered 10 episodes straight up.
Wow.
Like, we're not gonna have to wait to see if they're going to, go with it.
They're already on board.
They are on board.
So now that I'm caught up, I get it. And with the prequel, I feel like that one was something that I was on board for, only just because I'm like a big kind of like lore person, and whenever there's the chance to learn more about like something in the past, something that's happened in that like fantasy world, I kind of love it. I love world building and all that. So I don't know. I guess the fact that Game of Thrones is already kind of like an ancient sort of back in time. Place.
Medieval times.
The fact that you take it back even further is like, how can you do that? But I mean,
and this the House of the Dragon is 300 years before the main series. It is back. It's just The other one was thousands of years back.
Right.
Like, this one will have a lot more things. Like, the first one wouldn't have had King's Landing or the Iron Throne, wouldn't have had dragons, wouldn't have had the Wall. Like, this one will have all of those things.
Okay. So it would have been a little bit...
It's kind of the safer choice.
Right.
But look, I'm going to tell you, like, so what we know is the show is about the Dance of the Dragons, which is I'm going to go ahead and say, definitely the most interesting part of George R. R. Martin's kind of prehistory lore bit.
Oh, cool.
It's just a good story. It's about a Targaryen civil war about like 150 years ago, where I think I told you about it on a
I feel
Wicked
like we
episode.
have. Yeah, I'm like, this sounds very familiar.
The basic plot is there's a king. He has a daughter, Rhaenyra Targaryen, who he kind of raises to be his heir to take the throne. Yeah. Her mother is out of the picture somehow. She dies, and the king remarries to another person who has a son, and then he grows up, even though he's younger, and then the king dies, and it's like, who gets the throne? The daughter who's the firstborn, or the son who's the secondborn to a different mother. And that's the basics, and just basically that falls in war. There are tons of interesting characters, lots of different moving parts. It could be really, really good.
I definitely believe it. And like you said, it's a safe choice because it's familiar.
Yes, you have dragons, you have everything.
Yeah, like with the other show, I can see it being like people just being like, WTF is this? And like if it doesn't stick, it probably would have been a filler. And what was it that it was like troubled production or something like that?
Well, yeah. I'm also by the way, Julie says, I can't wait to hear some casting news. Hurry up, Dan, what's keeping you sleeping? Yeah, I'm not. I will get right on it. Naomi Watts for anyone. I'm sure. I am upset that Naomi Watts, because I mean, like, I love Naomi Watts. I am upset. I honestly do. Like, since Mulholland Drive, I've been like a giant fan of hers. Gosh. You ever see that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I love that movie. And I think
it's been a while, but I believe,
I am upset that she's not going to get a starring role in the Game of Thrones prequel. But I mean, like, she has blonde hair. Make her a Targaryen. I think
that's an easy switch. It's an easy fix.
And again, there are a lot of good characters in this tale. Like, Rhaenyra is a great character. Aegon, the person she's fighting. Aegon's mother, Alicent Hightower, is kind of like the schemer who wants to put her son on the throne. Ooh. She's great. The father's great. There's one great, I can already tell it's going to be great, but a girl. So later in the war, like, they're all fighting on their dragons, and they have, like, more dragons than they have riders. So they have to, like, draft people to, like, just, like, normies to try and ride them. And most of them get eaten, but there's one girl named Nettles, like a commoner who learns to tame a dragon and, like, feeds it and becomes friends with it. Like, that can be a good story right there. There's a lot of little good stories in this bigger conflict.
Yeah.
That just, it could be really good TV if they do it right.
I'm getting, like, some Shakespeare vibes.
Oh,
and some, like,
absolutely.
How to Train Your Dragon, like...
But a lot more people get eaten and die. I mean, it's not a spoiler to tell you that, it's a lot of blood. A lot of people die.
Yeah.
I mean, and we already do know the end. That's one thing. Like, it's not like Game of Thrones where, like, the book is not technically written, but the history is set.
Right.
But I mean, like, the Red Wedding was already written down. By the time that came along, people were still shocked to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oberyn's eyes were already gouged out. People were shocked to see that. Tywin already died in the toilet. People were shocked to see that.
Yeah.
I think we've proven that it doesn't really matter if you know, as long as it's good.
Right, as long as it shows. So, yeah, this one will be... I mean, I have faith in it. 10 episodes... coming soon.
I mean, 2021. Chandra asked a really good question, though, because this has come up. Really sad we're going to miss out on a very diverse cast. Do you think there's space for this Targaryen-based prequel?
Reading my mind, you know what? I was just thinking about that because we were joking about if when they're doing this, all they need is one blonde wig and they can just pass it around between people.
The Twitter takes have been terrific. There's one that was like, not ready for a Targaryen show where there's one wig they pass along among the men.
Yeah, and it's like Game of Thrones has come under fire, for lack of better words, for, not being like the most diverse show on television. Yes. And especially now, just focusing on the Targaryens, it's like they're really gonna lose the I mean,
it's gonna be blonde-haired white people.
It's gonna be a lot of blonde-haired white people.
I mean, to be fair, it's not. There are other characters, like how
Yeah.
Stark is involved.
Yeah.
The girl I just told you about, Nettles, the one who chains the dragon. She is a black woman. Which, I mean, there will be some, but yes, it's unless they just cast people of color.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they just did.
Yeah.
That's a question I was wondering. Like, if they're gonna set it in the recent-ist past, do they have an obligation to just make it consistent with Game of Thrones, or can they just like I don't know, like if they have an idea for a different looking Iron Throne, just make it.
Yeah.
Or a different looking whatever, just do it. I mean, it's not like we're actually going to get to meet the characters we already know. No one's alive.
Right. Yeah, I think I would like to see some creative liberties. Like there will be that, well, I guess it's not really nostalgia since the show just ended. So that's not necessarily a factor, but I think it's
More like momentum keeping going.
Momentum, familiarity, but at the same time, with something as grounded as like the Targaryens, I think they do kind of have the ability to play around and change some stuff, be fun.
Like,
yeah.
That was my intention, Chandra. I am upset that we're going to miss Naomi Watts and a more diverse cast, because the cast for Bloodborne was quite diverse. They had a lot of different kind of people. On the other hand, I do love this story. I'm sorry. I do think it's really, really juicy. I think they could be, and you're right, but there's not a lot of diverse people. There are a lot of men and women. Like, that won't be a problem.
We'll see, because, I mean, I don't know the story, so it won't just all be, like you said, Targaryens talking to one another.
No, there are, I mean, again, it will be probably mostly white people.
Right.
Finance Westeros.
Right.
Like, there's the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard named Kristen Cole, gets into, like, a king-making kind of thing.
Okay.
There's a Stark who comes down at the end and, like, takes over for a while. They do a whole thing. I do love the story of Nettles. She also ends up sleeping, like, she has an affair with the Rhaenyra's husband, and she lives and gets away on her dragon in the end.
Ooh,
which is good.
Scandal.
There's sex, there's violence, there is, like, mother-daughter, parent-child conflicts, there's brothers-sisters fighting each other and killing each other.
Yeah. It's like, what more do you need? Just, oof.
And purple eyes, says Julie. In the books, Targaryens have purple eyes. They nixed that on the show because they did try it, little fun fact, but like the contacts they made him wear were like such a weird distraction and making him like, I can't see where I'm going.
Oh no.
So they're like, okay, maybe we lose the purple contacts.
Oh no. Well.
But now, yeah, why not?
Yeah, play around
We
with
can try it.
We'll see what happens. Just do like a face app in post-production, change the eyes. They'll be fine.
As for the first show, yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly what happened with Blood Moon or The Long Night or whatever.
Yeah.
The best report I've gotten was from Michael Iziello, I think, from TV Line. Have you ever read his stuff?
Okay.
He's pretty
Not
reliable.
about-
He's an ex-EW employee. And he reported that there were, a troubled production, that there were budget, way over budget, that there were a lot of just personnel problems, that there were, and this doesn't mean anything, lots of creative differences, which could mean absolutely anything.
Yeah, the blanket statement.
The thing he reported, and again, I'm reporting what he said. He is reliable, but that they turned in the pilot. The execs didn't like it. They said, go back and change some stuff. They went back and changed some stuff, showed it again, still didn't like it, and we were like, cancel.
Yikes. Oh no.
Which, I mean, it does happen.
Yeah.
Like, shows
Yeah,
that
yeah.
pilots get not picked up a lot. It is a reality of Hollywood. But there's just so much buzz around this one.
Yeah. So do you think the show is just like done for good, or is there because it seems weird to have like a Game of Thrones show that's not like seated at like HBO or like HBO Max.
Oh, I mean,
So-
I don't think there's any way it could go anywhere
You think?
else.
Oh, so it still could.
Pretty sure
potentially.
HBO is an army of lawyers who made sure that they're the only ones who get
Yeah.
to publish anything
So
involving
so
Game
at
of
this rate,
Thrones.
then it's pretty much like a done deal. Oh.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, again, like there are lots of pilots in Hollywood, and the shows that we see, so many more pilots get made that we just never see. Like George R. R. Martin worked in TV for a long time, and he had lots of stories about like, I worked on this pilot and that pilot. I love the voice,
Dan.
and just they never went.
Yeah.
Like it's not uncommon at all, but it's just there's so much anticipation for this one.
Right. This one was definitely different. Well.
I do hope. Here's a question for you
Okay.
and for everyone out there. Do we hope or do we think that HBO like did this, like rushed into this just to be ameliorative?
Ooh.
Like if, okay, we're going to announce this thing is canceled. People are going to be mad, which they were.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, sad, mad, heartbroken. And then they're like, we have to give them something good. Let's just order 10 episodes of the series.
It makes me wonder, because I know they like rolled out all these other HBO announcements, HBO Max stuff. So I would love for it to be like, oh, we just put it out there because we were going to announce all this stuff anyway. But
God, it was with HBO Max too. It was on the same day.
Yeah. So I and again, because I was away and I only had like so much time to like check my phone in between like all these things I was doing, it just kind of all like melded together for me. So I thought it all just like unrolled in one big package. You're like, hey, this is canceled and this is coming. But so you're telling me it was kind of like spaced out in a way between the announcements?
It was more because they canceled it. They canceled the show, and then they had the giant HBO Max rollout.
Right.
And they're like, HBO Max, by the way, doesn't look that bad. It looks pretty. I mean, if you get all of HBO stuff, you get tons of. I'm not going to read what they. You know, they have a giant chest of content.
Yeah, it's huge.
Got good classic movies. They got like popular things like Doctor Who will be on there. All the studio. I love Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away and all those Miyazaki movies. They'll be on there exclusively. All of South Park, kind of their Simpsons killer, like Friends. They have stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the announcement of the new Game of Thrones show was like, and one more thing. We're having it. So it was planned, I guess. They couldn't have like depended on theirs then.
It helps to douse the fire to put that out for sure.
The timing was fortunate, though, if anything.
Exactly.
They're streaming all the CW stuff, like Riverdale and all this stuff. They have like all these old Adult Swim shows, like Samurai Jack. They have Matrix movies. They have the Lord of the Rings movies, which is weird because Amazon's making that show.
Yeah, well,
like they're coming for it. We'll see if it works. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a pretty huge catalog. It's not exciting me, and half of the thing is like something like South Park, which is on Hulu right now.
I mean,
so unless these right, it's like for now, but for me, it's starting to get to be a little bit too much to keep up with.
Oh, totally. I think it's going to be a problem for a bunch of these. But you know, they're definitely giving it a good swing.
Yeah,
we'll see if it works.
For sure.
Okay. Any other thoughts you guys have or you have about?
Julie says, seems like a lot of trouble to go through. Do they really worry about what one group of fans think or feel?
That's a good. Well, I mean, that's we're gonna get off track here a little bit, but I think like the politics of kind of reaction management are now a part. Like I think you're right, Julie. Like Twitter, like what people are raging about on Twitter doesn't really affect anybody's bottom line.
Yeah.
But like the press does pick it up. A narrative does get going. There was a Twitter thread on Sunday night about like Benioff and Dan Weiss, the showrunners of Game of Thrones, gave like this panel discussion at the Austin Film Festival. And they talked about like, you know, their experience with the show, the mistakes they made early on. Like it's pretty famous that their original pilot was they didn't really, you know, they were brand new to Hollywood, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And there was this Twitter thread that wildly misrepresented what they were saying. And just, it was bad. And people picked it up. Like there were outlets going like, they're idiots, I don't know anything about what they're doing. And then the actual audio came out and you hear what they're saying and you're like, oh, that thing they said about like enjoying to write the characters was perfectly normal and wasn't an admission of utter incompetence. Like just a small example. Like the Twitter thread said something like, they admitted they didn't know anything about the characters and had to learn as they went. Yeah. And, you know, this person is really
it's like, come on, that really just
and then you hear it and they're saying like, you know, we were writing the first season and we were writing more scenes with the characters and we got to know the characters better as we wrote them. Which is like...
Yes,
like,
completely taken context. Right, that one makes sense.
That's how it works. And like the whole thing was like that. But it gets rolling. You know, even the internet average machine works. It takes on this life of its own. And I think companies do think about that now, maybe even if they shouldn't.
Yeah, they do. And I think, though, the response to it depends on what it is. Like, if it's the nature of, like, changing a show, they're like, well, you know, if you didn't like what happened in this TV show or this movie, it's too bad because we've already like had this planned down. It's already filmed for the next couple of episodes. But like with like damage control sort of things, like, hey, we can announce this thing, we can also announce that thing. Probably more for marketing and publicity or whatever they have to do just to save their butts.
I mean, in this case, the narrative did work because they announced this new show. Something nobody was talking about, Blood Moon, or The Thread, or the fact that Benioff and Dan Weiss were no longer working on a Star Wars trilogy, as was originally planned. By the way, Christian Hannah, really good question. Very curious as to why they selected a series idea to sign for a pilot, to sign another idea straight to 10 episodes. I'm curious about that, too, why this one merited, like, or give it 10 episodes straight out of the gate. I mean, again, and by the way, this is all, like, developing. Like, I just read George R.R. Martin's comments on it. Apparently, he pitched this idea, like, back in 2016 to them.
Oh, wow.
And, like, so it's been in the works for a while. Maybe it was already along. We'll probably won't know the full story for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay.
But you're ready to take a breather.
But yeah, so, I mean, at this point, almost a sidebar. Benioff and Weiss no longer making the Star Wars trilogy. I mean, looking back on it, I've heard like chatter online, like they probably knew this for a while. They didn't want to announce it for a while because like they got a giant Netflix deal for like $200 million or something. And you know, Lucasfilm is kind of known at this point for firing potential Star Wars directors. How many does that make now? There's like Colin Trevorrow, and the Lego Movie guys from Solo.
That's right.
Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller.
And now Benioff and Weiss.
Well, they got voted off the island.
They do not have a great retention rate over there at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I
Rian
didn't even
Johnson
think about
is like
that.
kind of on the bubble now too. They're talking about.
Yeah, well, with like his new series or new, because it's supposed to be the D&D series or Star Wars whatever, and then also the Johnson stuff.
Yeah.
Which is just like, to me that
it
is just
sounds like a lot.
To me that was like kind of overkill.
I think it was, what I'm guessing is that they had this giant Star Wars plan, and then I think that they even said, like, after Solo, kind of like, whatever, they were like, we need to rethink this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a good idea to inundate people forever and ever with Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I think Bob Iger admitted that himself, that it was just like, you know, bad plan, too much too fast. But to me, it's like, I feel like we will need a rest from the Star Wars. Like, they want it in the saga, and I'm like, good, let it end. As much as I love it.
I completely agree.
But then to be like, oh, and now we're going to throw you some more stuff. It's like, no, please, just let me be. Just let me live a little bit.
Let me live, Disney.
Like, I can understand the shows.
Let me go watch your Star Wars TV shows for a while.
Yeah, please. I'll watch the shows. But I think the movies, I think it's time to stop and take a break.
I hope you're kind of right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, this is just the politics of reaction management because, like, I think what we're talking about sounds really reasonable to me. Like, yeah, they're trying to cut down, so they're not going to have 2 new Star Wars trilogies in the next 5 years. But it gets mixed up with this, like, residual bitterness about the end of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then these two become, like, these symbols online. And Julie was just saying that, like, let's move on.
Right,
but
right.
That's not what the internet does.
No.
It's not what the
internet
will
hold a grudge.
For dear life. But again, it can work for or against you. I think even though there was a bad narrative going, you announced House of the Dragon with a side order of egg rolls and suddenly, sorry, bad joke. And then they changed the narrative pretty successfully.
Yeah.
Now everyone's excited about it.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing. It's like the internet will hold a grudge, but if you can change its attention, like, you know, a cat and a laser pointer, like, oh, look at this. Then like, ooh, something shiny, something else new for me to talk about. And then it's like, bam, all that old stuff is like down the toilet.
I completely agree. I love that analogy too.
Yeah, this is the world we live in.
There's a meme we can do now, just like cat chase, and we just put the word Twitter over the cat and a laser pointer with a new announcement. Someone make that if you're watching.
Please.
Okay. So do you have any other thoughts? Anybody out there have any other thoughts on Dan's House of the Dragon?
Yeah.
Blood Moon cancellation. Benioff and Weiss fun time drama.
fun.
before, because we are going to try to sneak in some other stuff, but this was a heavy Game of Thrones
week.
week.
It was really heavy.
It felt like the show was back on, like with the number of news was coming in.
It's like, oh wow, how much do I have to cover? Yeah, it's really, to me, like I said, it was just a shock to be like, I'm gone, don't burn the house down while I'm away, and the house burns down while I'm away. Thanks a lot.
And as Harold Tate says, more Targaryen stories after trashing the last Targaryen heir, really. I have heard that take to, like, maybe this is like their way of trying to apologize for the way Daenerys' story ended.
Maybe. No, I don't know if they can make up for that.
No doubt. Ever heard anything about a possible Dragonlance movie series? I'm not sure what Dragonlance is.
No.
But I will learn.
We will investigate.
Okay. For our last leg of the journey, I thought we would, before it's too late and fall is over, do a little fall preview of, because, I mean, we're talking about Game of Thrones here, but there are some good shows coming out in the near future and that are already out right now. I've been watching Watchmen. It's getting really good press. I'm enjoying it.
Good.
It's interesting. It's not boring.
Okay.
Like, I'm a little afraid it might go off the rails at any second. It's that kind of show. Just like it's playing with some dangerous source material, but it's definitely engaging.
I've seen a lot of good reviews for that so far.
The Walking Dead is out. I'm only watching that, but it is.
Yeah.
And there are some new shows right around the corner. So I thought we could just kind of name a few that are coming up and rate our excitement on a scale of 1 to 10, red to black, whatever you want. Okay. So November 3rd, this Sunday, I'm personally quite excited about HBO His Dark Materials, the adaptation of the book series of the same name by Philip Pullman. I would give this a 9. Because I've read the books. I love the book. I think they're very interesting, kind of like chill fantasy epic. Like it's definitely got a British feel to it, where it's not like Game of Thrones is very bombastic and bloody, blah 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 blah. This is like a more relaxed, contemplative fantasy saga. But still, it has like an epic scope.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a cool, different sort of take. It's more modern timey. It's not like medievally. It looks different and interesting, and there are lots of talking animals in it. So I'm giving that a 9.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm somewhere between like a 6 and a 7, maybe a 6.5. Well, I love Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That's true. He is in it.
And I think it'll be interesting to see him in sort of like a fantasy, to see him basically not singing or rapping.
I mean, maybe they wrote one in. He's playing a Texan. I'm giving that a little bit of side eye.
Yeah. So
I hope he does an accent.
I don't remember if he does. I know I've seen it, and then, but whatever. I am interested to see him. I didn't read the book, so that's why I rated so low, because I'm not. I need to brush up on that, but it does look pretty promising, and James McAvoy as well. Yeah, he has my heart. So.
Ruth Wilson is also really talented as a sculptor.
That's right.
I love Julie's comment as usual. I don't understand Watchmen, but I'm liking it so far.
Oh,
that is a great distillation of my feelings as well. Okay. Yeah, Christian, I do think it is. I mean, hopefully it goes somewhere. Next, we have on November 12th, Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, the first ever Star Wars series.
Yeah.
What a brief clip of that brand new trailer. Just a short snippet.
Is the world more peaceful since the revolution? It is a shame that your people suffered. But
Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
Is not his face, is the Mandalorian.
Right.
He does talk, though, at the end of that trailer.
He does. Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, he has a voice.
What do you think?
I am definitely, for me, this is a 10 because I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm going to watch it. My only disappointment, or is it a disappointment, is that I believe they're doing weekly releases for this.
I'm not sure if it's weekly, but it's definitely not all at once.
It's right, not all at once, which, I mean, to me, I'm terrible at like watching and binge watching shows anyway. So it's like the least you can release at once, the better. But no, I really am, like, as far as being a Star Wars fan, it's exciting to see like, one of the coolest types of characters, the bounty hunters, be brought. Yeah, be brought onto the screen, and maybe they'll reference Boba Fett. Who knows?
It does look made with care, from what I can see. It looks like they're putting time and love and obviously money into it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not a giant Star Wars fan, but it feels like they're actually trying to do something a little different with that, like get a little more gritty, personable, slice of lifey.
Yeah.
And I like all people involved. Are they really never going to take off his helmet? Is that going to be the gimmick? I'd put it at a 7 for me.
Yeah, that's interesting because we never saw Boba Fett's face, I believe. And Jango Fett, we learned, was the clone. So we did kind of see who he was.
I guess we did.
I mean, so in a way, it maybe that's the big reveal at the end. Like, he's actually still Jango
At the very end.
I feel like there'll be a twist. Oh, you know what? New York Times, I believe, said that there's going to be like a really big spoiler in the first episode.
They
or
did
like
say that, yeah.
Game changer for the Star Wars universe. So that'll make
What
it
could
worth
that
watching.
mean?
I really don't know.
What if it's like that the Emperor is alive and that's going to spoil the rise of Skywalker? Because that's been speculated about.
I'm counting down the days. I want to know.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll watch
Yeah.
that. I give it a 7. And finally, another show that I'm also looking forward to, The Witcher on Netflix in December. Although they will not say the day yet. I think it's tomorrow. They're gonna have a new trailer. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be tomorrow. I've read these books, the Witcher books by Andrzej Sapkowski, who I love, by the way.
Yeah.
He is this grumpy old man who's always complaining. I hope he blows up and becomes a celebrity. Like
It's like, is that a threat? I thought you loved
in the media.
Okay, I get it.
Like his star rises. I'm sorry.
I get it.
There wasn't a threat with Sapkowski. This show is the most traditional fantasy thing we got coming up. It's medievally world, professional monster hunter played by Henry Cavill, wayward princess played by Freya Allen.
Ew.
There's magic, there's elves, there's swords, there's monsters, all the good stuff. But it's well done.
Yeah.
The story and the characters are pretty rich.
Oh, awesome.
And I think the trailers look like they're again putting things I love: time, energy, love, and money into it. So I'm going to give that an 8. I'm looking forward to The Witcher.
Ooh. You know what? And I said, I hate to like admit this on this podcast, but I'm growing to love fantasy. I feel like Game of Thrones, altogether is a separate entity that I like. So it's kind of hard for me to feel like super invested out the gate in a fantasy show.
Sure.
I'll start it at a 6.
And
then maybe after the trailer, hopefully if that comes out tomorrow, maybe we can up it a little bit. But I think for me, it would just I would have to be more familiar with what it is and what's going on and all that.
There is going to be a lot of it competing for our time. I mean, for me, it's like a Lord of the Rings baby who got hooked really early. I do enjoy myself a good fantasy. I can't help it. But I mean, I will tell you, I don't think the ones we're getting now are going to be like slapdash kind of shut off. They look like they're good.
Yeah.
They're fantasy and they're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a rarity. No.
I mean, nowadays, not really. We're having a bit of a fantasy renaissance because of Game of Thrones. I mean, there's more. This is like this year. After next year, we got, the Lord of the Rings show and the Wheel of Time and blah, 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 blah.
Like, take it all.
Like I said, I'm sure there'll be a bubble eventually, but right now, we're riding pretty high.
Yeah.
How about you guys? What are you excited about these things? How would you rate them on a scale of, turquoise to fuchsia, or 1 to 10? Turquoise to dog.
I think you need to get some sleep after last night and being up all day.
I am. That tonight I have not much to do.
Okay, good.
Which is good.
That's what I like to hear.
Anyway, other stuff. We got The Crown coming up, season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about that at all?
I'm not a huge Crown person either, but I think what you're going to say next, I'm excited for.
We got Rick and Morty season 4. Oh, are you a Rick and Morty fan?
Oh, I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan.
Okay, Cheryl's not a fan of that. Okay, we're transferring.
See, I'm a huge comedy person, so I do comedy. I watch this. Okay,
that's HBO Max, by the way. Rick and Morty.
Is it? It's not.
Yeah, they got it. They snagged it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I will watch. But I mean, for what it's worth, I love Justin Roiland. I think what he does is really funny and really hilarious. I think the fandom is sometimes a little, taken out of hand, especially, the whole sauce thing and
Whew.
Szechuan sauce.
It was bad, man.
But that's not me. I think he's still funny.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Frankly, I'm kind of happy to see that you enjoy it too.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it.
Yeah, no. I'll be excited to talk about
We
that.
got The Expanse. That's a Amazon sci-fi show that was a cult favorite that got canceled by Sci-Fi, picked up by Amazon. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up on that and get
Yeah.
into it. Vikings. The season of Vikings is coming up. Haven't watched it, but I know that's very popular. It's actually really popular. That is just weirdly that pulls really well on Wick. Vikings, which I wouldn't think.
And that's that would be what, season 6?
Yeah, the final one.
Wow.
Watchmen's already happening. Walking Dead's already happening. So it's I think looks like a really great TV season. Frankly.
Oh yeah,
The
we've
fall,
got a
I'm
lot
looking
of
forward
great
to all
stuff. It's
of
a
it.
great fall harvest.
It's a great fall harvest, and I don't think we're going to. Oh, okay. Thank you, Julie.
Ooh.
Wheel of Time 8, Britannia 8, Catherine the Great. I'm watching too. She gets it a 9. Are you enjoying that, Julie? That's a fun series.
If it's a 9, I'm sure she is.
Have you watched it at all, Catherine
the Great?
It
No.
started airing like 2 Sundays ago with Helen Mirren as Catherine the Great. It's good.
Then there's enough time to catch up.
Are you like a costume drama person?
Ooh.
Like The Crown and Catherine the Great, all those like
See, I think that
prestige historical things.
I don't really go for that. I think the most historical thing I got into was like Downton Abbey, which that's barely historical. That's like they just entered the
Someone
20s.
dressed like this.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So.
I do enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty into it.
That's awesome.
And Vikings too. I used to love Vikings, says Nicole. It went downhill after a certain thing happened and Floki's story. I know what you're talking about. But maybe they can. Sometimes shows get righted in the final season, in the final go. Maybe that'll happen to Vikings. We'll see. Okay. Any other comments from anybody?
Save Lodge 49 is a great show.
Is that good? I've never watched it.
Lodge 49. I hear that it's a great show.
I know. There's just so much to watch.
Yeah, that's the only problem. And it's like, I mean, there's enough for your, like, if you have like a certain niche, you'll love that stuff and you can watch it. But it's like all the other stuff, even though it's great, it's just so hard to keep up with.
I mean, we do this for our jobs, and we can't keep up with everything.
Yeah. It's like, please.
It's impossible.
It's like, will somebody stop having an idea for 10 seconds?
On the other hand, it's an embarrassment of riches, so it's all good. And Nicole loves The Tudors, another great, good costume drama. Yeah, can't argue with that. Okay, so this was an exciting episode.
Yes.
Lots happened.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon. I'm looking forward to some sleep. I'm looking forward to Historic Materials. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again
Of course.
next week on Wednesday, right here at the Winners My Facebook page. And if you're so inclined, we're also available in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are downloadable. So it's been a pleasure spending time with you, and we'll see you next week. Valar Morghulis, everybody.